What is going on, fam? How is everybody doing? I hope you all are having an absolutely, listen, today, wonderful day. I almost, I almost did say other, but I hope you all have an absolutely. This is really mostly a test. This is a test. This is a test. I'm just trying to see if everything's working. What is going on with this chair? Okay, I'm just trying to see if everything is working out. Just trying to bring the best experience to the listeners. Listen, fam. We got some stuff though we got to talk about real quick. And I kind of wanted to get to it because I realized I have not been here in a while. Put up a quick one, but I'm trying to figure out, just make sure everything goes live, whatever. So listen, fam, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation about it. Now, y'all know it around this time of year, it's always good. Around this time of year, Christmas is coming up, all that good stuff. It is always good, family. Whether you know it or not. What do we always talk about here? You have got to assess the wins and you have got to assess the losses. You just can't be sitting here talking about thinking you win and you doing it and we haven't assessed. We count the L's and we count the W's. That's just what we do. Listen, I know a lot of people don't like it. I know we like to go on and just kind of move past it, right? We like to mow. Well, Yvette, ain't no need to talk about that. That's over with. Ain't no need. Why we gotta focus on that? Yvette always like to focus on the stuff that's wrong. Well, because there's a lot wrong. In some cases, there's more wrong than right. So when that's the case, you have to do what you have to do. I do apologize for the people who are very, very upset about the things that absolutely have to be done. Now, there's something, let me see if I can find it, because I put this up here. I tried to put this up here early. Let me see if I see it, because I tried to put this up here kind of early so that we could get to it. But I want to just point something out. I want to just point something out for everybody. Because sometimes people love to say, oh, Yvette, you just should have been nicer to everybody. You just should have kissed a little butt or whatever. And that's fine. Sometimes you do have to kiss a ring or whatever, depending on whose hand the ring is on. But let me just say, let's go all the way back. Because I don't even be trying to make enemies and nothing like that. I just be trying to tell the truth and shame the devil. That seems like that's such a problem. So if we go all the way back, right? If we go all the way, let me start. I'm working with some new stuff here because I'm learning. I has a bit of a learning curve, fam. But if we go all the way back to some of the initial things that led us here. Now, because as NARC kind of runs around, let me resize this a bit, and does what it's doing, right? And for those of you all who don't know, the title of this Reparations for Africa, NARC has basically gone to Africa, gone to Ghana and said that, they have to get reparations. That's who we have to give reparations to first. We have an obligation to give reparations to go through Africa. We have an obligation to elevate Africa in that discussion. Now, I want to remind everybody that these organizations were elevated in California. So when people were saying, well, I don't know, Yvette, why you just gotta be nice to the Cobra and NARC. Listen, they're not being nice to y'all. I don't see any of these organizations, Nasty, and I hate to mention them by name, Leap, whatever you're calling yourselves these days. The Pan-Africanists, they are absolutely not holding you up. They are absolutely not saying we got to deal with these lineage people. They have gone to Africa and said we're going to deal with Africa, and they have left you alone after you elevated them in the California reparations conversation. So as we end this year in terms of who was right, in terms of who we should include and who we should exclude, I just want to say, let's just come back to the fact that we never should have given life back to these organizations. That's something that should not have been done. These relic organizations should have been left in the past. We should have left them alone and we should have taken the reins instead of doing something. I mean, if you look, go back again, family, and look at this. Because let me make it a little bit bigger. I'll take me out of it because I want to make sure everybody sees. These people were at the ADOS conference. And I've mentioned this before, but let me bring it home. These people were at the ADOS conference and didn't mention ADOS. They mentioned themselves, nasty Baddocks, and they mentioned in Cobra as the legacy orgs. So when you wonder why these people are allowed to take over now, understand that that was a strategic bumble, because blunder, because everything, you have to bring everything back. Bring everything back to where it is. Well, Yvette, why are you talking about that? Because it matters. Because everything matters. Everything that was done and that was not done, and every blunder matters in terms of why these people have the ability right now to run what they're running. All of this stuff matters. So if you say, why is this happening? You have to understand, and when I say why is what happening, Yvette, you have to understand that the Ghana Reparations Summit agrees to a global fund to compensate Africans for the slave trade. You have to understand that there were key moments where these people were elevated again. They were able to leverage their relationships, the relationships they have in Congress, the relationship with old heads that they have everywhere. They were able to leverage that relationship because we took our leverage and momentum and gave it to them. So we had a group that was ADOS, took the leverage away from ADOS, which Antonio and Yvette ran off with it and gave the leverage back to the people who are going to use it to give it to everybody black. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a strategic blunder that when we go back and recap this year and talk about what happened this year and what was messed up this year, we have to include that. I have got to get that glare off my glass, but we have got to include that. That has to be included in terms of how we have this conversation. I'm sorry who don't like it. I'm sorry who feel away. I'm sorry who I don't like it. I wish we could just move on. You can't move on if you are unwilling to have the conversation about how we got here. Now, let's talk about what they're doing. Let's talk about what they're doing at this summit. Did you all hear about this? I'm just counting the L's. This happened while I was not doing This happened while I was not doing YouTube, but I said we have to count this. This counts as an L. Whether everybody like it or not, this counts as an L. Now, Ghana delegates at Reparations Summit in Ghana agreed Thursday to establish a global reparations fund to push for overdue compensation for millions of Africans enslaved centuries ago during the transatlantic slave trade. The Accra Reparations Conference adds to growing demands for reparations after about 12 million Africans were forcefully taken by European nations. No, they were, see, don't nobody want to tell the truth. Nobody was forcefully taken. They were sold. So this whole arrangement is based on a lie. Nobody was forcefully taken. These people were sold. African slaves were sold to Europeans. And then once we got here, we became what is known as ADOS. Listen, that's what happened. See, it's already starting off with some fictional stuff. Growing demands for reparations after about 12 million, 16 taken by European nations from the 16th to the 19th century and enslaved on plantations. Come on, man. They built the wealth of nations, blah, 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 blah. All right. It is time for Africa. Oh, it's hard for me to even read this line. It is time for Africa, whose sons and daughters had their freedoms controlled and sold into slavery, to also receive reparations. What? It is time for Africa. Wait a minute. Hold on. Understand what they're doing, fam. Just understand what they're doing right here. It is time for Africa? Wait a minute. So we don't even, listen, we haven't gotten reparations. It's time for Africa. It's time for Africa. We haven't gotten a thing. We haven't gotten a dime. Africans sold us, and it's time for them, and we're their sons and daughters, and they sold us. I'm sorry. If you sell me into slavery, I think we cease being family. There is no more son and daughter after you sell us. They are perpetrating a lie. And let me slow it down, family. They are not only perpetrating a lie. Let me just say this, fam. It's not just that they're perpetrating a lie. They're perpetrating a lie, even though the modern reparations movement that was started by ADOS is based on the truth. So you are perpetrating a lie, even though the movement that we birthed is based on the truth. So we have a movement that is based on the truth, and you are perpetrating a lie. It is what it is. You are perpetrating a lie. This whole movement is based on specificity. All the time they were trying to do Pan-African reparations. You know what happened? It never worked. That's what, if you want to know what happened, one of the things that you got to know is that it never worked. Let me bring this up. It never worked, fam. Let me see if I can get this. It never worked. Think about that. Just consider it. So if you are in a situation, let me see if I can go to the next one because there's one more. So if you are in this kind of situation, right, where I mean, you got to think about the level of thievery. I think these narc people would have been the slave traders. You got to think about the level of thievery. You just got to think about it. We build something based on a unique understanding of lineage. You take that thing. You take that thing and make it into something else. We build it on a particular kind of understanding. That we are a specific people, that there's a specific wealth creation, that the poverty is still in the system, that we have an urgent need. There is a lot in terms of the foundation here. That's what we do. That's what we do. And then you turn around and you take the momentum, none of the stuff that came along with the momentum, none of the knowledge, none of the specificity, and you run right back to Africa. I'm gonna tell y'all something. This is like a fetish. Let me hold on one second, family. I'm gonna read this, but hold on one second. Let me get that back. This is kind of like some weird fetish stuff. I'm telling you, there is a thing here. Where'd it go? There's a thing here where people just kind of, instead of this being some kind of, it's like it really is like this is Mama Africa, and that's my paw. It's time for Africa. We read that part. I don't even need to read that no more. Said Ghana's president, Nana, just call him President Adu, at the conference attended by senior government officials from across Africa as well as the diaspora community. What? Wait a minute, what? How? Now let's go to another one real quick. Compensations are based on moral and legal rights and dignity of people, said Ambassador A, strategic advisor to the deputy chairman of the African Union. Now, first of all, the African Union doesn't even pay for its own stuff. I'm not trying to be mean, but like the majority of their money comes from the EU. And I think America pays something too. So why is that even something or somebody that we're listening to? Why is that something we're concerned about? You got to count these L's. You got to count these L's in the way these people are running around talking about, boy, these people are running around trying to, come on, man. In addition to the Global Reparations Fund, which will be championed by a committee of experts set up by the AU Commission in collaboration with African nations, a special envoy will engage in campaigns as well as litigation and judicial efforts. So let me ask y'all something. What do y'all see here? I'm just gonna ask you, what do you see? Because I'm gonna tell you what I see. But I want to ask you what you see. Because what I see is that they're giving control of our reparations movement to African nations and the leaders of African nations. So we are losing control of our movement. They are saying here, this is now a global movement. We want the leaders of African nations to take control of our movement. Who told NARC that they had the right to do that? Who told them that they had control? Who told them that we wanted y'all to take control of our movement and give it to Mama Africa? See, these people have mama issues. They got mama issues, except it ain't mama like your biological mama. They got mama issues in terms of mama Africa. Oh, here, mama Africa. Here goes the reparations movement. We want so bad. We don't even feel like we are authentically African. So we are going to bring you all the lovings and offerings, mama Africa. Please take everything we has to give, mama Africa. We know we are not really African, but we do everything we can. We wear cowrie shell. We wear dashiki. We wear everything, mama Africa, to prove to you that we loved you, even though sometimes you don't love us. And we're going to let you lead our movement, even though you sold us over here. We have a desire to be loved by you. This is an emotional, psychological thing. There is not a political comportment to what's going on here. This is emotional. This is psychological. These people need therapy. Because as Americans, we should not give people from other countries. We should not give people from other countries or leaders from other countries any kind of stake in an American, authentically American movement. Who does that? Us. We will build something that should be taken to Washington, D.C. This is a movement that should be in Washington, D.C. We should be taking this to the most powerful country and challenging power. Instead of challenging power, we are over there telling Africans, mama and daddy, here it is. We want y'all to lead us. Lead us where? The last time they led us anywhere, it was a boat to be bought by Europeans. So where, sir? Where, ma'am? Do you suppose they're going to lead us? I cannot imagine being that desperate for leadership that you decide that you're going to take your authentically American movement and saying you want to be led by somebody that may not even know who's in the House of Representatives, the Senate. They may not even know that. They may not. You have to listen. On some level, let me say the other part of this. This is cowardly. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. You a coward. If you, listen, I know how dangerous it is. We know how many people done got killed trying to do something for Negroes. We know what that looks like. So it's much easier to say, hey, Africa, take a lead. That's you going to, I'm going to punt this ball. I'm kind of scared. I'm shucking, ducking, quack, quack. I don't feel like I'm supposed to feel. Yeah, it's easy. Let me punt the ball and give it to Africa. No, at some point, you have to take control of where you are and who you are. We are American descendants of slavery, the institution. We are owed a debt. We have to take full control of that. That debt is not owed to African countries. That debt is owed to us. We have to take control. It is our job to do that. But if you don't want to challenge Democrats, if you're scared, you got to say you're scared. And so if you don't want to challenge Democrats and you don't want to, remember Nancy Pelosi got in Cobra off. Nancy Pelosi said, we're not going to do that. And they said, okay. And then Biden got in and said, we're not going to do that right now. We're not finna do no reparations. Don't expect none. They said, okay. You want to lead, you want to run the lead, but you scared. You scared of what the white folk going to do and the Democrats, and we don't want to, we going to go to Africa. We going to go to Ghana. Okay. Okay, child, do what you got to do. We saw that with moral and legal. I don't even know. Let me tell you something. I don't even know what that is, but I can tell you one thing. I can absolutely tell you one thing. So y'all finna get reparations, and you already getting stuff. U.S. commits $55 billion to Africa over the next 3 years. So you're already getting something in terms of the country, right? You're already getting something in terms of this nation, right? And now we, the people who were sold into slavery, not you, because you sold us, we were sold here. We endured all of that, built the rich country in the world, and somehow you got your hand in the pot, and you're already getting stuff. Wait a minute. Let's also go to, let me bring this one up. There's some stuff. Let me see. White House fact sheet accelerating the U.S.-Africa partnership after 2022. So let me show you what happened. They had a partnership. Remember, y'all, we covered it here. And you had African nations come here and advocate for what they wanted from America, right? And guess what? Something that rarely happens with us, it rarely happens with us, happened to them. America followed up. America actually said, oh, let me show y'all how we did. They didn't say disadvantaged groups. They didn't say people of color. They said Africans, we have done some stuff that you have asked us to do. Since the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit in December 2022, President Biden kicked off an extraordinary year of U.S. engagement with Africa and made progress in delivering high profile commitments announced during the summit. The Biden-Harris administration is over delivering on our commitment to invest $55 billion in Africa over 3 years. Over the last year, the United States has welcomed the African Union as a permanent member of the G20, expanded trade, investments partnerships, advanced major food and health security investments, and launched a digital transformation initiative, forged new security and good governance cooperation, and catalyzed landmark diaspora-driven engagement. As the White House commemorates the one-year anniversary of 2022 leadership, the United States remains all in on Africa. You better talk to them all in. In recognition of the diaspora as a source of strength and foundational to our 21st century partnership with Africa, the United States has strengthened cultural, social, and political and economic ties among diaspora communities, global African diaspora, and the United States. In September, President Biden announced 12 inaugural members of the President's Advisory Council on Engaging African Diaspora in the United States, PAC-ADE, and in October, Vice President Harris presided over the swearing-in ceremony of the council. Now, listen, this all looks like very, very, very quantifiable things that are happening. And I'm not even having a conversation here right now about what should happen. I'm telling you that America is following up on what it told you it was going to do. That's all I'm saying, right? America is following up on what it said and what it committed to. Now, there are a lot of geopolitical reasons for that, right? In terms of America's fighting with China and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of rang-dang-doogling, but rang-dang-doogling, that's a new word, a rang-dang-doo. There's a lot of rang-dang-doogling, but, ladies and gentlemen, America appears to be doing something about it. They're following up on their commitments, and that should be your relationship with America. You as sovereign African nations, you all should be having that conversation. You absolutely should. You get to decide what to do, right? As country to country, and we get to decide as American citizens how we feel about it or whatever the case may be, but you do not have your hand or should not have your hand in this pot. Ladies and gentlemen, this pot should be our pot. We were sold here. We built America. We were the slaves and their descendants. Now, I'm going to show you something else before anybody says, oh, Yvette, I think, me thinketh that you are being somehow wrong or somehow whatever. I want to show you something. Barbados raises reparations invoice with Britain. Now, I want to show you how this is working. Just quickly. We don't got to be here no long time. I just want to be very clear with everybody how this is working. For example, Britain's tab to CARICOM is tallied at 24 trillion, while Spain's is 17 trillion. Portugal specifically would have to come up with 20 trillion to Brazil. The Netherlands tab is 5 trillion, 3 trillion of which should go to CARICOM member nation Suriname. And, gosh, hold on a second. I knocked my stuff off the screen, child. And 50 billion to neighboring Guyana. The recommendation from researchers is that the money be paid over 10 to 20-year period. Now, I want you to check something out. Stay with me, family. I want to ask you a question. Is that going to all black people? Oh, shout out to the people with the thumbs down. Shout out to the haters. Love you to death. Keep watching. Listen, is that going to all black people, or are those specific debts going to specific countries? Now, how do you get money as a Caribbean person over there? I mean, the Caribbean residents, and then you get money over here. And how is our stuff being run by Africa when ain't none of these people there? This is CARICOM, and they have specific debts that are owed. That's because countries have justice claims. Countries have justice claims. There is no black justice claim. There is a justice claim for each thing that happened in each country. So whatever happened in Brazil, the slave trade there, the slave trade is different everywhere. It lasted different amounts of times. You know, with us, we built the richest country in the world, so there's a different price tag to it. It's different everywhere. So everybody has a justice claim to a specific country. Only our nincompoop leaders would go to Africa and say, you take the lead. Ain't nobody else doing that. CARICOM is leading CARICOM. Now, they may be in collaboration. They may be in conversation, but CARICOM is leading CARICOM. Only we are running around here trying to find African countries to lead us because we have some type of sentimental connection to Africa. And I don't have no problem with that. Have whatever you want to have. It's not my business. It's not my problem. But this is a political problem. This is a political problem. And a political problem becomes my problem because it affects my politics. This is a political problem. Now, there was something that was written. Let me bring it up. There was just so y'all know, there was a paper. There was a paper that was written. Now, this is the paper that's going to set the stage, y'all. This is the paper that's going to set the stage for how we get reparations. I want you to know who was in the room. I want you to know. Now, mind you, the people who enlivened and breathed new life, the Lazarus movement, if you will, that is ADOS, we were not there. But some people were there. And I wanna bring up what Cam himself said about, I mean, not Cam, Lord. He was in there though. He's in this little list. I want to bring to you what was said about these are the people. We got it all. Okay, let me just so you were aware of what was going on in Ghana, is how they were setting the stage for what you're supposed to get.
Drafting this document, people like Nicole Hannah-Jones, who met with us in Bellagio, where we brought together a group of scholars and activists.
Let me just say, I don't know why they had that poor lady sitting there and just waiting for her to wave at the camera. Leave people alone when they outside. Leave people.
To deal with actually building and developing this agenda for the summit that was developed. Dr. Joy DeGroo's name has already been invoked. Mahmoud Kamara, Brian Kagora, who of course is one of the brightest minds we have within the African constellation, Jasmine Mickens, and of course Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, who could not make Bellagio but was a part of the actual summit itself. And that summit is, just to name some of those various same people were here, as well as Dr. Julius Garvey. I cite that only to indicate that there is a continuity, and that the continuity is important in terms as we move forward to shape this movement. Dr. Cheryl Grills, who is here, her name has already been invoked. Dr. Amara Inya, Mahmoud Kamara, Cam Howard, of course, Robin Ruth Simmons. They were all here and helped to produce this document.
He said, you know, and once again, I told y'all, I hate to, it's the end of the year though, you have to do an assessment. I told y'all, I said, listen, this Nicole Hannah-Jones thing, it ain't gonna end well. Oh, Yvette, you so disagreeable. I don't know why you can't work with Nicole Hannah-Jones. I don't know why you ought not be like that. She seems like she's on the right path. Y'all would have a lot in common. Why you wanna be that way? Why you wanna act that way? I told y'all, I don't think so. I said, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. I have had private communications. I don't tell you what I do. I don't think so. I don't think so. And instead of saying, yeah, oh no, you use that to allow Darity to run away from Adolf. Yeah, Darity said you're too disagreeable. No, I'm right. I was right. I'm taking all the flowers today. I'm sorry. No, I told you that she was going to go for the bag and she meeting with these people. You know good and well. You know good and well that but they wrote the document. It's called, let me see if I can find it, family. It's a document. It's called the document that he's referring to. Child, you can't make this stuff up. The document that he is referring to is called like the Accra Declaration, the Accra, whatever. Don't get on me for pronouncing stuff wrong. It is what it is. I do the best I can. Every day, all day. It's the Accra Declaration on reparations and racial healing. Now, of course, again, this group have people in what's the best way to say it? They have people in the they have I don't know any other way to say it than to say they got the old heads. That's the only way I know to say it. So people in legislation, they have no grassroots support though. And they are going around deciding what we should be doing. Now, let's go to the second. Can't even see this thing. So let's talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about the Accra Declaration on reparations, on reparations and racial healing. Can we have that conversation later? Let's talk about it. We have got to talk about it. We have got to talk about it. The reparations and healing imperative is a multi-generational, transnational. Remember what I always say, fam? Language is so important. It is transnational endeavor requiring the active engagement of the grassroots civil society, private sector, policymakers, and leadership at all levels to usher in the transformative change to the systems, structures, and institutions that have perpetrated harm against Africans and people of African descent around the world. Now, our justice claim is just about us. It's not about people of African descent. I'm not saying people of African descent in other countries and African countries have not been harmed. I'm just saying that is not our fight. Our fight is right here, but they are making that. They just gonna, child, they gonna give it to everybody, right? In keynote remarks at the convening, President of Ghana, let's call him President Adu, stated the importance of the African Union making reparations a priority issue, setting an expectation for the engagement of other African heads of state to join with the people of African descent, blah, 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 globally in this endeavor. Globally. It's a globally African-led endeavor, which means it's going nowhere, except maybe Africans might get some more out of the United States and different things like that and the EU, because they actually are leading nations. So they're going to use the thing that we have built to get something extra. Child, it's a dirty, dirty game. We acknowledge President Adu's solidarity message with the reparations movement. We believe it is critically important that President Adu calls for the engagement of governments and heads of state in the global reparations movement. The global reparations, but I'm not saying there isn't a global, I think we triggered a global reparations movement, but what are y'all doing? Y'all just like to wear cowrie shells. Political will and commitment is critical to the implementation of this declaration. Active involvement of governments and political leaders will go a long way in beginning the process of healing the wounds between civil society and partner governments and providing redress for harms. Okay, child. We submit that African nations, pay close attention, family. Please pay close attention right here. We submit that African nations and political leaders must take a center position. African nations and political leaders must take, this is NARC. This is Ron Daniels. This is who was just talking. They're saying that African nations and political leaders must take a center position fully in step with and guided by African peoples in enforcing the demands of full repair from the perpetuating nations, institutions, governments, families that have been negatively impacted, the African world via the crimes to chattelize Africans, enslavement, colonialism, apartheid, and genocide. Child, they threw the whole thing in. Slavery, colonialism, apartheid, they made it all one thing, you see. They have made this thing all one thing. So it's not about ADOS anymore. It's about everything. Anytime you make it about everything, you make it about nothing. Like, please understand that, family. Anytime you make something about everything, anytime you make one thing about everything, you make it into nothing. This is about nothing now. It's about you all getting vacations to go to Switzerland and Ghana. This is about nothing. And to the extent, let me show you how these people don't understand leverage. They think these people love them. There is no love in politics. You shouldn't have to tell old people that. You shouldn't have to tell people on Social Security that there is no love in politics. So what do you think African nations leaders, their countries need things too. They might have suffered colonialism. They might have been taken advantage of by the West. Their country needs stuff too. So when they go to get stuff, when you put them in the lead, who do you think they're advocating for first? If they're a good leader, they're advocating for their people first. If they're a corrupt leader, they're going to make sure they get paid. Africa has both. Everybody has both. So if you really think they're going to go into a room and advocate for your reparations, I wouldn't go into a room and advocate for nobody else. They are leaders of nations. You are people in America. These are leaders that you are charging. So they have way more pull in terms of the world and in terms of who they can have conversations with than you do. You don't even have grassroots support in this country. And the little bit of stuff that NARC and COBRA that y'all do have, you go and run over there and give it away because you are not able to do it. That's what happens when people are not able. They go and give it away. If I were not able, I would give it away too. If you are not able, they're just not able. And so I don't know, we can't take it to the Capitol Hill. They're going to be mad. I don't want to make Democrats mad. We don't want Donald Trump in there. Well, let's go to Africa. But I think they really, that's part of it, but I think they really feel that way. I really think they feel like they have to get Africa to buy in, as if that's what you need to get reparations in America. We have had the Japanese get reparations. We've had Guam. None of those people have ever needed Africa. And to the extent that we did, Africa should just come and do that on their own. We should not have to have a conversation. Listen, if you sold me over here and I've been getting my butt beat since I got here, I should not have to have a conversation with you to help me get some of the stuff that I'm owed. If you feel that way, I should not have to fly to Accra or whatever to get what I'm owed. For you to help me, you should do that of your own free will. But I'm certainly not centering you in my fight. You can be supportive, but you cannot lead. I'm not leading anything in terms of what Ghana needs. You know why? I don't know what Ghana need. How in the world would I know what they need in Accra? How could I know what they need in Lagos? How in the world would I know what they need in South Africa? I do not, and they don't either. But I tell you what, when they get in that room, they got sense. When they get in that room, they're going to leverage something for themselves, and you're going to be there sitting there talking about, well, we did have it for everybody. We included colonialism in there, so we're not even mad if they got something, because they're supposed to get something, because we included everything. We are happy for our sisters and brothers, and we're going to be sitting here eating rocks. Because everybody letting these old folks run off. For what? Who elected you? Who told you to do it? Who told you could run off with stuff you didn't create? Goodness. We call for the adoption. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Did I finish the last one? Let me make sure. Oh, yeah. Genocide. Oh, okay. Yeah. Enslavement, colonization, genocide. This direct assault on the bodies and minds and spirits of Black people resulted in profound injuries that went unmeasured and untreated. The generations of terrorism and abuse were followed by more systematic abuse sanctioned and codified by, I hate that word now, by the very institutions that perpetuated the crimes, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we didn't miss nothing. We call for the adoption of a clear, comprehensive definition of reparations and forming, why don't you have one? Why don't you, you've been the leading reparations organization, according to you, for 20 years. Why don't you have one? 30. One of them came about in the 80s and one in the 90s. I think when one was early 2000s, whatever. But if you've been around for decades, and you need a definition. We call for the adoption of a clear, comprehensive definition of reparations and forming criteria for reparatory justice initiatives based on the Durban Declaration of Program of Action. An important goal is to distinguish reparations from equitable, inclusive, and ordinary public policy, and the narrow Black nativist lineages proposition. Hey, that's why they call us out. Oh, the narrow nativist. You mean the narrow nativist lineage proposition? You mean the only one that makes sense? You mean the only one that has any energy behind it? You mean the only one that anybody cares about? You mean the only one that has any lasting impact? You mean the one where if it goes away, this movement is over? If everybody just decides that we're not about lineage anymore, this movement is over, and y'all are back outside with bullhorns looking crazy. You still look crazy, but you don't have bullhorns no more. You're actually talking to politicians. That's us. And don't say, no, it's not y'all. Y'all didn't do that. We've been doing this for a long time, and you made no movement. You made no progress. No progress at all. And if we go away, you'll be back to college campuses with bullhorns and bad graphics on your little pamphlets. That's what it is. And that's all it will ever be with you at the helm. And you just we want to, from equitable, inclusive, and the narrow Black nativist lineage popular. What is narrow about lineage? Didn't we just talk about character? Didn't we just show you? Didn't we just show the Bahamas? Right? Didn't we just show that one where they were what they were talking about. Brazil gets this, they get it. Yeah, everybody gets something based on their lineage. That's what that was. The one I just showed you a minute ago. That's what it said. Everybody gets something based on their lineage. Right? Britain's CARICOM tallied 24 trillion, while Spain is 17 trillion. Portugal specifically will have to come up with 20 trillion to Brazil. That's if your lineage, if you're Afro-Brazilian and you come from slaves, that's what they're saying. That is lineage. You're allowing everyone else to have the lineage proposition, and you're giving it away. I don't know how. I don't know how we got in a position where these people are leading, but they're gonna lead us right into the trash can, eating out of there with Oscar, child. We're gonna be eating the banana peels and everything with Oscar the Grouch, honey. Cause these people, I don't even know. This is insanity. You hear me? Let me see. What was we? Oh yeah, that was read that one. Here go another one. We charge that global Africans. What is a global African? Have you ever heard anybody refer themselves as a global European? It's just the dumbest thing in the world. As a global European, have you ever heard anybody refer themselves as a global Asian? As a global, no, nobody says that because it's stupid. Just the dumbest junk. As a global African. These people think they're superheroes. Like, they think they're in like Marvel movies or something. I'm a global African. Like, what do you travel to planets or something? What are you talking about? Like, what are we talking about? You're a global African. Is that on some kind of paper, or that's on some kind of passport? What does your passport say? Does your passport say global African? How many of y'all, if you got a global African passport, please put a 1 in the chat so we can send somebody to your house to check on you and do a wellness check. If you are a global African, please put a 1 in the chat. We need to check on you, make sure you is all right. Work for the development of prosperous economies based on values of African humanism with principles of inclusive economic rights, including Dr. Martin Luther King's call for economic Bill of Rights. Ooh, they're doing a lot. To create independent. Child, what are we doing? Hold on, to create independent, self-reliant, African-centered knowledge systems. African-centered knowledge system. Why is this in a reparations document? Fam, why is this in a reparations document? They're going to create African-centered something, education. That's in their reparations document. Why do I, as an American, want an African-centered education? And who is going to give it to me? What school in America? We can't even have ADOS history in schools. They are whitewashing schools of Dr. King and any kind of reparations conversation, and y'all are so stupid. You over here talking about you gonna have some kind of African. What is it? Let me go back to it. What is this dumb stuff I just read? Self-reliant African-centered knowledge systems. We recognize that we can't even keep the schools together, and we can't even keep Dr. King in the books. y'all gonna talk about Africans. We recognize that reparations is a necessary, critical step to propel us to create these systems with the intentionality that ensures a guarantee of non-repetition of harms against Black people or any group of people. Child. We commit to supporting existing efforts for the return of artifacts, monuments, human remains connected to our memory as African people. I'm not even gonna talk. Y'all gonna send back the stuff from Benin that was part of the Dahomey empire. It was a slave trade empire. Y'all gonna send that back because it's African. You love Africa. You love everything African, right? Good or bad. Your moral compass don't matter. If it's Africa, it's all good, right? We call for foundational support for engagement of the social movements in the global African reparations movement. For example, the Global Pan-African Movement, CARICOM Reparations Movement, NARC, Africa Transitional Justice Legacy Fund, and others in consolidating and expanding the global African reparations movement through active outreach, mobilization, and building. Child, you obviously don't know how to build. You ain't built nothing in this entire reparations framework. I don't think you know how to build. I think you're just talking. And this is why. Listen, we still counting the wins. We still counting the L's. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, I said what I said. How many of y'all remember what I said? It's like, what time? when I said, y'all remember when Cam Howard came out and he said, I agree with y'all. Our way is for our way is only for reparations. Why do y'all all continue to use this word recklessly? We are not your enemy. Collectively, we are fighting for the same 90% of people who are DAEUS. They would do the whole alphabet to avoid saying ADOS. The other 10%, I had some water somewhere. Ain't that something? Ooh. The other 10% is where we differ on. We are not at war. So he was saying, well, we agree that 90 goes to us and 10. But I didn't hear you, Cam, at that event. I didn't hear you say even nothing about the 10. I had to tell everybody they was about to run to it. We got to go and talk to Cam because he might be right that we fighting him. And if we listen, that 10% is everything. He's playing a game with eggheads. That 10% is everything. And that's why I said don't do it. People are like, the 10% is everything, because the 10% is that little wide, that 10% space is where you kick the door open. Have you ever had somebody trying to break into your house or trying to push your door open and you cracked it? Once you crack that door, baby, it's open. Unless you really, really with the muscle. If you want somebody to crack that door, it's open. He's cracking the door. No, the 10% is everything. If you agree that reparations is for ADOS, that means that the 10% is everything, because you don't want that door cracked open. And he ain't mentioned none of these groups. Honestly, we've been working with Cam. We've been talking to Cam. I ain't seen him mention y'all. I ain't seen Narc. Narc seems to be taking the lead. My God, it reminds me of that little mouse. Y'all remember that little mouse? What was it? Narc. Y'all remember him? I'm sorry, but they taking the lead. Cam going along is for all African people. I didn't hear him say, well, I didn't hear him jump up and say, excuse me, I'm for a 90-10 arrangement. I didn't hear none of that. Y'all just be believing anything. Oh my God. Was this another part of it? I think this was another part of it too. Did I miss this one? We call up on the permanent forum on people of African descent for a global summit of colonial powers, governments, financial. It's just word salad. I don't even know what they're talking about. We will engage in dialogue and discussion on term of global African and inclusive identity of Black people around the world. It is evident that across the globe there is a direct lineage to Africa. Oh, that's that lineage argument, baby. It's a lineage to Africa. Now, forget that we have lineage throughout this country. We don't just have lineage to Africa. We have lineage to Europeans. Some of us, like, might have a little more than others, because y'all remember my thing was 36% European, but some people might have more, some people might have less, but that's not our only lineage. You got a lot of white people with lineage to Africa. Theirs might be 10, might be 15, might be 5. That's still a lineage to Africa. What we're talking about here is who we are and what our contribution is in this country. We are not talking about what your DNA say. We're not talking about that. We are Americans. We are ADOS, which means I don't look at myself as a European. I don't look at myself as an African. I'm an ADOS person. I don't look at myself as either one of those things. I'm not European. I'm not African. I don't have to claim neither one of them. Why are you trying to make me claim one of them? I don't got to claim that. I don't have to claim European. I don't got to claim African. I don't got to do nothing you tell me I need to do. There's no global African identity. There's no lineage. Even within Africa, those countries have different customs, different histories, all of that. This is stupid. And this is stupid because they're stupid. And listen, fam, I'm going to leave you with this one. They say you got to see who they waiting on. They waiting on. I'm gonna just play this for you. Play it for you real quick.
We were saying we are waiting on our sisters and brothers in Africa. We're waiting on. Beckles over and over again said we have to get Africa engaged. We have to get Africa engaged. How can it be that at the scene of the crime, we do not have our African brothers and sisters involved? And so what is incredibly important about this conference is, thanks be to the ancestors who are dancing, our African brothers and sisters are indeed involved. Not only are they involved, we see heads of state stepping out, leaders.
Child, he waiting on Africa. We've been waiting on Africa. We couldn't do none of this until we got Africa on board. These people are lost. And like I said, before I go to break, there's a lostness here. And what has to happen is that we have to take the reins away from the people who are lost. And I don't really know how else to kind of describe that except to say, like, to understand that the people who are lost cannot lead. The people who are lost can't lead. If you have an emotional affection for Africa and a sentiment for Africa, that is your right to have whatever sentimentalism that you want to have. It just doesn't mesh well with your politics. And we should actually, I really wish we had more money so that we could raise a fund so that y'all could go there and be with your brothers and sisters, right? So that you could go there and do that and live that way and just enjoy life, just enjoy life. Just because you just get in the way of everything that we try to do. And I told you all that Ron Daniels was extremely disrespectful when I spoke to him at the Atlanta Reparations Conference. I talked to him, he wouldn't even talk back. And he's a nasty, nasty person. But, because you don't even know enough to understand that I'm even a little long in the tooth, right? Like, you certainly can't lead nothing, but you can go to people who are Pan-Africanists and bastardize something. See, just because you can't create something don't mean you can't destroy nothing, right? Just because you can't create and just because you can't put roller skates on something, that don't mean you can't destroy nothing. You can destroy stuff. You absolutely can destroy stuff. So, I just want everybody to be clear on that. I want everybody to be clear on what we are up against. I want everybody to be clear that, like, as long as these people are successful, reparations will fail, right? As long as they are successful, we have to be clear that this has to come out of their hands. This is not an African project. This is not when we was in high school wearing cross colors and cowrie shells and little African medallions around our neck. Our leaders should be more mature than that, and they're not. And so the movement that we build here at the ADOS Advocacy Foundation has to be better than that. It has to be bigger than that. And so you also got to go to joinados.com. You have to be a part of what we're building. Because that's the only way you oppose what they're bastardizing. The only way you are a part of what we're building is to oppose what they're bastardizing, and we're building it inside of an organization. So I'll leave it right there for now, fam, and I will go to break for a second. I will come back, and we will have, hopefully, like I said, I'm still getting to know this stuff, have a conversation. All right. Oh, all right, fam. We are back. We are back. We are back. We are back. Let's see. Do 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 do. All right. Let me see if I can take me a call. Hold on 1 second. All right, first caller. 909. 909.
Good evening.
Hey.
Hey, yeah, this is Soul Brother. How's everything? Dr. Soul Brother.
Pretty good, soul brother. How you doing?
Oh, I can't call it. I'm just, winding down, like everybody else as far as the new year, and just hoping and praying that as we go into the new year, that things change for the better, especially what you're talking about, because this right here, I'm just going to keep it 1,000, not 100, but 1,000. And that is, these folk have helped to further black self-hatred. I'm going to say that again. They have helped to further black self-hatred. I know that sounds strange because these folks are supposed to be all about, pro-blackness and all this kind of stuff, but here's the deal. They don't fool me. It took me a while to understand this. If you'd have talked to me, say, 20 years ago, I hadn't connected the dots. But I always knew and felt something wasn't right here. I've always been like that. But here's the thing. When I say the black self-hatred, use the term, you were quoting, somebody is using the term global African. See, that global African thing is a shield, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Because here's the deal. Folk who are part of CARICOM, they don't use the term global African. Mm-mm. They don't do flat blackness. Nope. I watched them give a thing at the University of West Indies in Jamaica. I saw it a little over a year ago. Might have been 2 years ago. I forget. Anyway, so I was checking them out, and they were talking about, reparations and all that. Not one time did they bring up Black America. Not that I was expecting them to, but I'm just saying, they don't bring it up. It's interesting. You are allowed to celebrate, or rather, let me back up. They are allowed to celebrate their Caribbeanness, if you will. But Black America is not allowed to do that. And when you do, the perception is you're being, quote unquote, divisive.
And let me say something real quick, fam, because you said something I think sometimes we don't pause when we have to pause on things. You said, what you just said is that they further self-hatred, which means that we have this idea that we are only supposed to have pride in Africa. There's no pride in us and who we are. That's some sick stuff.
But that's what that is. And see, the thing that's interesting is one of the things that is happening is that when you have this elevation, well, I shouldn't say elevation, but this, lack of a better word, elevation of, let's say, the American flag, then it's a problem. I want folks to think about something. If you go back to prior to the Civil Rights Movement, like at the early 1930s, or let's say during the time of Marcus Garvey's era, and even subsequent to him, you did not, I wish folks would hear me, you did not have black folks from the Caribbean or Africa looking at Black Americans saying, this isn't your country. What are you doing? You're not a citizen. You're not, this flag doesn't represent you. That's the white man's flag. They weren't doing that. They're doing it now. You know why? Because you had reckless black folk in America who, because of their reckless mouths, have helped to further embolden them have helped to further embolden them. And so what I'm suggesting, or what I'm submitting to everybody is, some of that stuff they got from you. Now, when I say this, am I letting those folks who are out of line, who are not from here, off the hook? No, I'm not. What I'm saying is, you help to further embolden them. And I'll say this real quick because I don't want to hold up the line. The fact of the matter is, that right there, what you read off, I'm telling you,
I'm playing around, fam. I don't want to scare nobody. I'm sorry, fam. I'm playing with the camera. I don't want to scare nobody. We don't have a blue screen, but I'll let you finish up, fam. My apologies.
Oh, Oh, okay. I was trying to figure what was going on.
Yeah, I was messing around. Not putting in the preview. I was messing around. That's me.
Okay. Well, you learned as you go. I get it. But you see where I'm going with this? And so when folks like these, and by the way, I use the term elder advisedly, because eldership is not something you get by virtue of your age. That's something you earn. And as far as I'm concerned, these folks have not earned eldership, period. I don't care. And I'm telling you, these folks that in their 70s, 80s, possibly early 90s, they are a stone cold trip. They have dug their heels in, and they are not going to turn that corner. They're not. So they are. It's like a song. This came out in the early 60s. Come on, let me show you where it's at. The name of the place is I Like It Like That. They like it like that. And there's the reason why things are the way they are. And so when you talk about taking pride in your as a friend of mine calls it, Afro-Americana, they got a problem with that. And I'm telling you, it's because of them is why you have folk walking around who feel inferior to black folks from the Caribbean and in Africa. That is a fact. So that's what I mean when I say they help to further black self-hatred. It's okay for other people in other parts of the diaspora to take pride in their, and trust me, even when you look at the Olympics, and I ended with this, when they go to the Olympics, they don't do flat blackness, do they? No, they don't.
No, they represent a country. They represent a country.
That's right. But if you on the sidelines cheering on America, what you cheering on America for? Look at him waving the American flag and all this kind of stuff. And what that does, if you buy into that, that's what white folks want you to do. Fool, that's what they want you to do.
Right.
This is insane. It really is. So they have been the weak link. They've been the problem all along. All along. They lack discernment. They lack wisdom, a whole host of stuff. No, they've been the problem all this time. And the work that you're doing is helping to highlight that mess.
Well, I appreciate you, fam. Thank you so much. You know, I always appreciate your call.
And allow others to come on here. I didn't want a hot dog the phone line.
He said he didn't want a hot dog the phone line.
But I know there's other people waiting in line behind me, so I appreciate hopping on here.
I appreciate you, fam, as always.
All right.
You have a good one.
And please support my channel.
Say what it is again for everybody.
Dr. Soul Brother. Well,
Dr. Soul Brother.
Handle, but my channel is Soul Brother.
Soul Brother. All right, appreciate you, fam. I hope you be talking like this on your channel. Because you be spitting though. I hope you be talking like this. 623, what's going on?
Oh, Lord Jesus. It's a miracle I get a chance to talk to you. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas
to you. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
The ADOS family. I'm Michael Hinton, a.k.a. Radical Mike, Phoenix, Arizona, and an elder, 73, just turned 73. So let me give you my perspective of what you just ran down.
Okay.
What you just said was how the African diaspora is in cahoots with white supremacy and America to undermine our ADOS movement. We are causing so much heat that now Africa, if they had ever been concerned about reparations, has had several hundred years to figure the part out. But they haven't, because their hands are extremely dirty in this reparation process. So as we plow toward reparation, means that what Mr. Charlie is going to do, he's going to start pointing fingers and naming names. He got the exact number that he got from Ghana. He got the exact number that he got from Nigeria and the Congo and the Home tribe with their 20%, of the transatlantic slave trade. So as we plow toward reparation, these guys are getting nervous because that means they're going to have to cut a check. And when you mentioned about your DNA, it triggered me to do the same. I'm 24% Ghana and 24% Nigerian. Some Congo, some Dahomey in there, little touch of Native American, some white folks sprinkled in there about 1 or 2% and stuff. Now, them folks gonna have to cut a check. And what this means is that now they have become officially on the side of white supremacy and the system to continue to oppress us.
I agree.
What we got to do is decide that it is all-out war right now, and we just going through just cutting off heads. We're not asking any questions, just like the Clarence Thomas issue that Tone was talking about the other day. This is disgusting.
It is.
How our people will take a check and sell us out.
Hey,
and here these Africans are
doing the same. But they've been doing it. Like here's the thing, fam. Here's the thing. Here is the actual thing. African countries are lucky we ain't asking them for a check. Like, how do you be in the same? Go ahead, fam. I'm sorry.
We are going to.
Like, if y'all had money, we would say you owe us. We're not in this fight together.
They got to cut a check too.
Come on, man.
Oh, go ahead.
No, not you. I was saying, come on, man. Not you. I was saying, come on, man. Like, for you to say that, like, we're in the same boat when you sold us over here, and we really have a claim against America and you. But we have the greatest claim against America because we built American wealth. But you did sell us here. So to say, like, my African brother, look, this stuff is so stupid. And Clarence Thomas, like Antonio was saying yesterday, he's saying anybody can make it. Sir, you are making it because you are begging white folk. So you are telling us we don't supposed to get reparations. You begging to get your house. You begging. I do this on the court. I step down for RV. I'll jaw jank for a house. I only got $5,000 in my pocket. So what it really shows that we never made it. And so you're a beggar. Our Supreme Court justice is a beggar. Come on. Go ahead, fam. I'm sorry.
Oh, this is just. I was so shocked when I heard that show. I was like, okay, it's a wrap. Now it's our turn. And my position is at 73, I am so pleased. Somebody in the chat was saying, I've been following ADOS for so long, and okay, so what is the progress? The progress is that we are having this conversation like this conversation has never been had before. The problem is that black people under 50 are slow. From a political standpoint, from an intellectual standpoint, period, are just slow. Martin Luther King was in his late 30s when he was assassinated. There are not any 30-anything black people doing anything in America politically that is on our side. That is, I mean, they got a job.
Well, and let me say this, fam. Let me
kind of work.
Yeah, and let me say this. Talking about well, what's the progress? Listen, the civil rights movement lasted from the 50s to the 60s. Like, and you gotta get in the way. You gotta deal with the people who are getting in the way. Like, you just can't look at Yvette and say, what's the progress? You just can't look at the people inside the foundation and say, what's the progress? You have to look at yourself and say, what have I been doing? What contribution have I been making? I can look at people in the chat and tell what contribution they've been making. I know a lot of these people. But a lot of y'all who come and say, what's the progress? Hey, I'm not a fast food worker. Right? Like, this has to be I always say we rise together or fall together. I'm not here to give you hot fries. This is not Burger King. I don't make it your way. Like, we have to make it together. Go ahead, fam.
Yeah, people think that our struggle is a sprint, a dash. This is a marathon. It might take another 2 generations, but that means that the generation now has to lock in that this is our goal. And all out, this is our goal. Not if we get reparation, when we get it. Mm-hmm. What is going to be the cost? At this point, the Democrats will not go to the White House without us getting reparations, because we will not have a Kamala Harris sitting at the edge. Biden can't do a second term. Biden can't do a second term. Kamala is going to inherit that office. She's not one of us. And if she's going to be one of us, she will have to cut that check. And it is a wrap. And a lot of black people got to be on that narrative. It is all or nothing at this point. Otherwise, we get an Asian, whatever, American, because we need to check her ID. See if her ID say color girl.
You said
if her ID don't say color girl, and then that it's a wrap. And we need to push straight that. That's all we need to be talking about. Rappers need to be rapping about it. We need.
Well, you know what? Let me just. And this is my only pushback, and then I'll let you go, fam. I don't want rappers. I'm at the point. I don't really want them to do a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you got to be the top of the top. Like I'm happy if J. Cole. I'm probably happy if J. Cole raps about it or something. But I'm not. Like, I'm not. The rest of y'all, I don't want you, because then you're gonna get invited on TV and you're gonna mess everything up, or you're gonna go do what Ice Cube do and say, we don't need a reparation, we just want some. Oh man, I don't, because then they gonna call you and you're gonna mess up the whole conversation. Because once you ain't gonna call and say, I got somebody for you.
Go in spoken word or something.
Yeah, because you
go in spoken word.
Because they're too narcissistic to say, hey, I got some other people I would like you to hear from. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them are too narcissistic to say, go check this person out. They want all the attention. So I want the rap attention, I want the celebrity, I want all the attention.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it.
So we need a Marvin Gaye, because what's going on is still the number one song in our community.
Absolutely.
It's all the same. Only thing that's changed is that we have the conversation right now. We are in charge of the conversation. And the only reason why all of these other people are talking about the conversation is because they feel the heat from our conversation. And I need everybody in the ADOS family to understand that we have the world nervous right now. Because
I appreciate
everybody knows that we do a lot with a little. And
absolutely.
We get that check, it's a wrap. We run in America.
I appreciate you, fam. I got to let you go and get to a couple other calls, but I appreciate you. You have a good one, all right?
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Great call, though. Yeah, I just, I think we have to, and I saw somebody in the comments say, let's stop the gender wars. I said ginger, Lord. And I agree that, but I do think we have to find a way to be critical of each other without maybe taking out daggers. But some people in a group may need that. But I think maybe we don't call it a war. Maybe we call it something else. But anyway, let me go to my next caller. I'm going to 708. 708, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is John from Chicago.
What's going on, John? How you doing?
I'm doing well, Yvette. Thank you. Thank you for tonight's show. Thank you for pointing out everything that you're pointing out. But I'd like to say, I noticed, because there's a talk show that I call into every Saturday, and the guy's about 75, 76. And I constantly tell him, hey man, listen, the reason you feel the way that you feel about Pan-Africanism is because you're not in competition with the people with the immigrants that's coming in, with the open borders, with everything. Because you were in the military, so you have a pension. You probably worked a job and got another pension. You straight, you solid. And when you listen to the Ron Daniels of the world and the different people that involve themselves in this Pan-Africanism, what happens is, if you look, they're tenured. Academia has always been a problem because, to me, this is my personal opinion, and maybe not all of academia, but they straight. It ain't a fight for them anymore. So if you between the ages of 30 to 60, you're in a world of trouble. And even all the way up to 65, because in 1980, when the 401ks were done away with, and Ronald Reagan came in, and they played the long game to these Trump tax cuts from 1980 with Ronald Reagan, and they finally got it done. And I still don't think that we have really actually felt the effects of those tax cuts because of COVID-19. A lot of stuff, man, was just pushed to the back burner, or the can was kicked down the road. But we have yet to experience the hurt that this country is about to put on us, like you and Tone constantly explain. And as I listen to these people, and I want to have a dialogue, not a monologue where I'm just talking, but I'm talking fast. Please forgive me.
Thank you.
Because I don't want to lose train of thought.
Okay.
But when I listen to these people, the one thing, and the other callers brought it up, you guys never just stop with the kidnapping crap. No one kidnapped us. Y'all sold us. And the brotherhood, the connection was cut. All of the ties were cut for me at that point. And our blood and bones are buried in the soil of America. I'm an American. Period, point blank. Now, whether I'm a black American or whatever it is, the simple bottom line is I'm an American, and I don't know what the difficulty is for us with just simply embracing that. And the people from the diaspora or from the continent or whatever, they know that we had a need to feel this connection to something. And they take advantage of it, Yvette. The lostness that we have. I'm just upset. But thank you for the show.
No, and I thank you for. Let me just say what I think I have an answer to what you said. You know, about not claiming America. I think some of us believe that claiming America means we're claiming white supremacy and we're claiming everything that America did wrong. And it's like, right. No, you're claiming your grandmama. You're claiming your great-granddaddy who fought in that war. You're claiming the people who built this country. You're claiming the escaped slave, right? That's who you're claiming. You're claiming Fannie Lou. You're claiming you're claiming Fred. You're claiming everybody who made it possible for you to be here in this country and sit in front of this computer and watch me and watch whatever you're gonna watch after me and go have a snack. That's who you're claiming. And so it's just like those were Americans and they were fighting. Everything that we've ever fought for is full American citizenship. That's what we're fighting for. And like, we want to be fully American. We want to have the life that they fought for. So this idea that claiming America means claiming or being somehow in agreement with what America does in terms of imperialism abroad or abuse domestically. That is just, I don't understand how people don't see that what we're trying to do is create a life for ourselves inside this country. And if we succeed, we make this country better, not worse. So, I just don't think people see it. But go ahead, fam.
Yeah, and the problem is, people still act like this stuff was a long time ago. You have to remember, the Voting Rights Act was in, 1964? I was 2 years old, man. You understand? Remember the episode where the woman said she didn't get her citizenship, the Vice episode, I didn't get my freedom until 1963? Come on now. I mean, come on now. Stop acting like this stuff has been when you guys put the chart up, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, well into the 1900s.
And they had some showing that convict leasing is still going on today. There was a great article about convict leasing is still happening. People in jail going out to work and doing so. It's still happening.
Yep. And I'm 61, Yvette. My dad was born in 1932. What does that make his day? Just coming out of or born to a slave. So I'm like 3 parents removed from the actual crime, and it's a crime that was committed against us. We're still considered, through all of the voting that liberals and conservatives and just white people do, we've been relegated, man, to just second-class citizenship. And we fought in every single war that this country has ever been involved in. And then you guys had an unmitigated gall to have immigrants come in the 1930s telling us to go back to where we came from. We were sold from someplace. Mm-hmm. Shame on those people, man. Shame on Ron Daniels. And God bless and thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you. I appreciate you, fam. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for calling in. Yeah, I mean. All right, fam. I mean, yeah. It's just it's shame on them. I mean, it's just like you just want, you have to have a, I think and the question, this is the question I will ask white people, who are opposed to reparations or whatever. Like, do you like having this grievance constantly? Because I'm the kind of person, like, I'm not abstract. I want to put me out of business. I want to make me talk about something else. Like, we fix this and I can go talk about something else. I can go do something. I can talk. Like, you should, if you are an advocate, you should want to put yourself out of business. I don't care what your advocacy is. If you take care, if you feed hungry people, you should want to end hunger and put that out of business, not just perpetrate your job. But we got too many people who don't want to do it that way. Going to 415, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
I'm Karen.
Hey, Karen.
I've talked to you before, and I gave you a laugh, but I'm from Chicago originally and lived on the South Side. I didn't even know what white people were when I was a child, because there were none on the South Side. We had a pretty elite community.
Okay.
But then there was a poor community nearby. Now, these people have kept us underfoot. They needed somebody to be under their poor, trashy butts coming from the Caucasus Mountains. And my thought is that they're aliens, and they came to control. They didn't come to control. They were dropped off because they were undesirables from whatever galaxy they're from.
Well, let's stick to stuff. Let's stick to stuff we can prove. Let's stick to.
I'm sorry.
Let's stick to stuff we can prove. Let's stick, because I think that's something else that happens to us.
Well,
like we start making up stories
we are the underclass, as far as they're concerned. We're only here for some people to entertain them and to labor for them, because they're too ignorant to do it for themselves. Now, I'm pretty hostile, and I'm talking from hostility because I've had to live with this madness from Chicago to Tennessee, where I went to boarding school. Okay. Our elitist community isn't elitist because no matter what, people look at our skin color, and we're black. No matter how educated we might be, we're still black. I was thinking, up until when I heard you, I just happened to find you, and you were being shown today. I said, oh my God, how did this happen? Because I had told my therapist, I'm waiting for my reparations so that I can get the hell out of this country.
What'd your therapist say?
I would like to take...
What'd your therapist say? I said, what'd your therapist say when you said that?
He was kind of shocked. He said, why? Oh, do you have your passport? I said, no, but I'm going to get it. You made me think. I'm going to get that. And I said, and if I have to, I guess I'll have to take you with me so I can have therapy. But I am so perplexed at this point, hearing what you're saying. There's no reparations. They didn't want us to have it. And only a small number of us even were hearing that was possible. because I don't think there's, a large number or percentage of black people that are conscious of what I've been listening to with you for years. And I've tried to tell everybody that I could to get hip to it. But what I think, this whole thing was a game. They've decided that they've got us, and we're the underclass,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're bringing other people here to give jobs to.
Oh, that's definitely
and
happening.
driver's license, and all the things that they need to be people, and we're still sitting around with nothing. I live in Northern California,
Okay.
and I've gotten a chance to see a lot of homeless people. I mean, this country has become quite devastated, and now they're bringing more people to create more devastation. Public housing isn't really public.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at first it was created so black people could have some decent housing. I remember in Chicago, all that public housing was black.
Mm-hmm.
And come out here, and now suddenly I look around and I see all kind of people coming into public housing. The Asians, Latinos, everybody that can come. And we are being pushed out of a country that doesn't even care about us. We never got our 40 acres. We never got, reparations. One more thing that we're not getting. I marched in 1968 after Dr. King was killed. I was hurt because I said, well, I didn't, jump and run and go and listen to him, even though he was in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Chicago. I marched. I went to D.C. I marched. I sat up there next to Coretta Scott King on the podium. But, it just felt empty. The whole thing felt empty. We're just here by default. Default to people who couldn't do for themselves. And we're frightened. I am, at this point, knowing that we're not going to have anything from anybody but, anger and hatred. And what have we done? I wish somebody would tell me, what have we done to deserve?
Well, I don't think we've done anything to deserve it. But I do believe that you teach people how to treat you, and I believe that you do that in relationships, and you do that in terms of your government, any relationship you have. And I think one of the things that has happened, over at least my lifetime, for the most part, not all of it, is that we have abdicated our political responsibility. And people think that they can do everything without politics. They don't have to have knowledge. They only have to have, you have a lot of stuff, the street knowledge, and it's just kind of like, that's not it. This, there's a powerful country, even when people had knowledge that was beating them over the head, but they was fighting back. And so by not having any knowledge, you're taking away, or you are not giving yourself the tool that you need to fight back. And so we really believe that we can have a life without politics. And I think we're seeing the result of that. We're seeing the result of what it looks like to try to be apolitical in a country where people are viciously political, right? And they're fighting for resources, tooth and nail. And if you abdicate that space and you just kind of don't know anything, and you're like, you got to think about, I'm thinking about the person in the chat who said, well, what is the ADOS Foundation, what is the ADOS in general been doing? It's been years. Well, it took Antonio and I like 4 years to convince everybody we were poor. It shouldn't take that long to convince a bunch of poor people that they're poor.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't take that long to convince wealthless people that they're wealthless. So part of that was just holding up a mirror and saying, look at yourself. And I'm no different. But look at yourself. And people saying, nah, I'm a millionaire while having nothing in the bank and nothing to inherit. So part of this, it should not have taken that long to show people, to hold the mirror up and people not be in denial about what they're seeing. But I'll let you finish up, and then I got to get to some other callers. But you're right.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm the mother of 9 children, 16 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandchildren. And I'm fortunate that all of them are sane. You know, I lost 2 children.
Oh.
2 of my sons, the oldest and the youngest, committed suicide.
Oh,
At
I'm
least
sorry to hear
that's
that.
what the police said. And, you know, it's let me see in my little spot in America what American black people are going through. We're all devastated.
Yeah.
And we've got to do something. You know, the 60s kind of frightened those folks because we were marching, we were cutting up, we were burning up places. And maybe this might trigger some animosity in us and make us act up again.
Hey, well,
I wouldn't be angry with it.
I would.
You
Hey,
know what,
we gotta.
you know
we
what,
we gotta understand our predicament, and the propaganda machine in this country has done a great job of convincing us that we are not who we are. Go ahead, fam.
I just want to tell you, I love you.
I love you back.
You are very special, and I'm glad that you have this platform. And it's unfortunate that it's not on a broader scale, that there are not more people listening. But I'm grateful that you're here.
I thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and I love you back. You have a good night. All right.
And you too.
All right. Bye bye.
And have a happy holiday.
Oh, I will. You do
Bye.
the same. And let me just say this, and I want to tell her, you know, just before I go to the next call. Listen, it's a lot of suicide out there. Like, you know, I have shared a couple of people, but I've gotten like, you know, they don't stop. You like letters from people, emails. I was considering suicide until I really listened to you and I figured out my life, and I was blaming myself and telling myself that, like, you know, I was the problem and like I was the reason why stuff wasn't happening for me. Like it was my fault. Like life can beat people down, especially if you believe that other people are getting quote unquote to the bag and you're not. You don't know that everybody's faking the funk, and you look at the data, and the data shows you, oh no, you can be 100,000 there and get into the top 5%. Oh no, ain't no money here, ain't no wealth here. So I think, and you realize how everything is kind of mechanized against you. Until you realize that, you really will you will sink into like a really deep depression. And so my heart goes out to her. Thank you, ma'am, for calling in. You know, because my heart goes out to you about your kids and the suicides. I hear a lot about that, and you know, I get emails about it, and like one thing I do hope that this show does and that this movement does is just help people with their mental health, in terms of like, you shouldn't be walking around trying to carry the burden of like how far you got in life, like as if the door was wide open to you. Yeah, you got to work hard. You always got to work hard. Working hard is an ingredient of everything. But don't walk around here thinking that if you work hard and stuff doesn't happen, that you must have did something wrong. No. 404, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yvette, how you doing? Thanks for taking my call tonight. I am Mike, and I'm over here in lovely Ellenwood.
Oh, okay. How you
right
doing?
Next to Decatur.
Okay, right up, right. You right here in Georgia.
That's right. Living the life in the Black Mecca. So I'm just a little concerned that you know how they say imitation is the best form of flattery? Mm-hmm. Now, not to toot your horn or anything like that, but, you know, all these grifters, they seem to have latched on to what you started. Mm-hmm. You know, that one grifter, the one with the zip joint, tried to take what you guys have done, and it's not really working out. So now we have these, I don't want to call it a generational war, these older people, and they really going, you know, kind of off our field. And so I think that's a testament to what you started, that all these grifters is latching on to what you do, but I'm thankful that you are actually keeping the train going and staying focused. The other issue I have now with Ghana, now, I've been following you for quite a while, mm-hmm. and you have always said that the whole Ghana thing was a grift. Yeah. The year of return.
It's tourism.
Remember how the year of return? Mm-hmm. Those people collected all that money. Now Ghana in bankruptcy. Ain't paying back this.
The lights went out. Did you see when the lights went out?
So
did you see when the lights went out, fam? The lights went out too.
Right. Right, the grand.
Wait, fam. Hold on, fam. Wait 1 second. The title of the article was "Ghana Plunged into Darkness." Now go, fam.
Well, guess what? Now, can we just put these elderly people in the church van, and put them on 285 and let them keep going around till we come get them? This is ridiculous. Can they just go sit down and let the professionals who have an idea lead what's going on? This is ridiculous. I do not want Ghana, negotiating with me. I think it's a grift. What they're going to do is go in the room, use us as leverage to get their European cocoa bonds refinanced. They hopped up to China. So what's going to happen is they're going to go in the room. They're going to get their money. They're going to say, well, we tried. And behind the scenes, they're getting stuff done. The president of Ghana was he was hobnobbing with the Europeans, saying, they got all these coups up in the Sahel. Give us some money, and we'll kind of be the go-between. I think this is a grip. The reason why we over here and they over there, because of stuff like this. I do not want people who can't keep the lights on, people who got everything hocked up, negotiating me, and then we have no accountability. So I just want to say that. I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
And here's the thing. At least here in DeKalb County, they do pick up the trash. And, traffic is bad right here on 285. But at least we have infrastructure. I don't want people who can't even do basic infrastructure negotiating $1 trillion bill on my behalf when they haven't shown mastery for the basics.
Well, you know what you're going to get?
Anyway.
You know what you would get, fam? I tell you exactly what you would get. And I no shade to Ghana. It's just not my country. That's not, I understand y'all have your own struggles. It's just not my country. But I can tell you exactly what you would get let me tell y'all right now. Drum roll, please. What you would get in an let's say what you want to call it, and what we call an African reparation bill. Like if you let them negotiate, they might negotiate something in there for you all, not me, because I ain't coming, to have some kind of passport where you can travel there without a visa and stay there for long periods of time. I don't even think they're gonna give you second dual citizenship, but they might give you something where you can travel to Africa. So they say, well, as part of your reparations, we negotiated that you can come home. Like, yeah, no money. We negotiated you can come home.
I think America's not, we have our issues, but, at least, like I said, at least the DeKalb County come pick up the trash. At least, I got a little street light going up, Taylor Road or something like that. But they haven't shown a mastery. Just looking at it from a managerial perspective, they haven't shown a mastery for the basics. They're always crying about white people. And they're the first ones what they hand out. They get all these white people loans. The money vanished, and they still got, questionable infrastructure. So I think what we can do is let the ADOS, foundation and organization lead us to where we need to go. It's a very localized issue. I have nothing to do with CARICOM. They can fight their battle. We need to focus on what we have here at home. Charity begins at home. And if they want to go after, Britain or whomever, they need to do it. But I don't tell these old people, get in that Beulah Church van, get on 285, and keep going in a circle until we get them. They need to go sit down. I'm sick of them. Anyway.
Thank you, fam.
Thank you. I love you guys.
Love you,
I will definitely. So, like I said, I'm Mike over here in Ellenwood. So, I'm gonna sign up and help out because I'm just sick of this foolishness.
Absolutely. JohnAdos.com. We appreciate you.
And we stuck on stupid.
All right. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you.
Right,
you think you're gonna get something out of it, and I just don't think and it's not. Sometimes people are like, oh, y'all just talking about African nations is calling them underdeveloped. It's also ADOS don't really understand that you are Western. And you might not, because, oh, no, I'm not Western, I'm not a part. Yes, you are. Go in your house and you paid your light bill and the light don't come on. You tell me how not Western you are. You're not used to no rolling blackouts. So shut your mouth and understand who you are, where you live, and what that means. So it's not being upset at anybody. It's not saying that. It's saying that, like, you have to understand who you are. There's a reason why, yes, America's doing, and we have to fight back. But there's a reason why a lot of people in African countries are trying to come here, and you need to understand why, and a lot of countries, and what that fight is about. It's not no shade to nobody else. We shade everybody, but it's not about that. It's just that we're Western, and I need everybody to understand that. Like, we're from the West. We're born here, raised here, family here. That's who we are, and you have certain expectations. And just because you're not wealthy doesn't mean you don't have, those same expectations. You have, like he said, the trash pickup. You have certain expectations based on being in the country that you're in. So I'll just say that to say that. I'm going now to 804. 804, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, how y'all doing, everybody?
What's going on, fam? How you?
Connie. Adolph, Mississippi. How y'all doing?
Pretty good, Adolph, Mississippi. What's up with you?
How y'all doing, fam? I just wanted to kind of put some of these conversations into the proper perspective. I've heard a lot over this last couple hours or so, and I want to shout out to all my elders and folks who called in. But I want to kind of put this conversation into its proper context, because Adolph, the movement itself, we're comprised of folks that are lineage based, right? And our ancestors have been here for generations, right? And so we have to put that into its proper perspective when we have these conversations. And I hear a lot from these journalists, and a lot of them probably aren't even from our communities, and so one thing I want to say, just like, okay, for example, Adolph, Mississippi, we're involved with a group out of Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Their community has, they've been there since the 1800s, and they're going through something called, eminent domain, right? There's the urban renewal plan that the city of Ocean Springs tried to implement to try to, displace this group. But, we were able to fight against that. And I want to shout out our brother, Ja'Cory Arthur, because
Absolutely.
of his, honestly, his leadership and, his legislation, we were able to fight against that that ordinance in Ocean Springs. And so just want to put that in perspective, like what Adolph activists are doing on the ground. We're out here every day. We're fighting against police brutality in Mississippi. Lexington, Mississippi, for example. We were able to get a investigation from the Department of Justice. For patterns of practice, in Lexington as far as police brutality. So, shout out to like I said, Adolph activists, in Boston, New York, Alabama. Shout out, our brother Trey in Alabama, for what we're doing, so, and thank you for your vet for coming to Mississippi, and representing. So, just wanted to put that out there to folks who have some, dismay. You can join the ADOS chapter. We're active. We on the ground. We outside.
Yeah, we started. Like your chapter, you never stopped doing work, fam. But like there's some people who never stopped doing work, and there are other chapters that we just launched. Right? So, like, if the people who don't know that, like, we welcome you here. We welcome you to come in and join the chapter. And we have some more that are going to launch at the beginning, in January and February. We're going to be launching chapters all next year, too. So we welcome people, to join and become a part of everything that's happening. Now, this is also regional. What ADOS Mississippi is doing is not going to be the same thing ADOS New York is doing, right? So when you talk about what we're doing or what people are doing, it's regional in different places, but people just tend to jump to why we ain't got no reparations. That don't mean that ADOS is not active and outside in all these different places. So I appreciate it, fam, for calling and making sure that people understand that.
Thank you, fam. Just want to say that, man. Love y'all. Love you, man.
Love you back, fam. I appreciate you. Hey, listen, ADOS Mississippi ain't gonna let you talk like that. They outside, and listen, the New York outside. New York was just outside. like I say, Jacory ain't never not been outside in terms of like people are doing things, but they're advocating not just for reparations, they're advocating also for resources for the transformative Black agenda. So I do agree that probably we haven't done, we don't have any money right now. We haven't done as good a job as we could have at publicizing what our people are doing. And we will probably put up that page in like a newsroom page so you can see. Let me write that down. Newsroom. So you can actually see what different ADOS chapters are doing, but we outside. We just haven't had a chance. So we've been rolling out chapters and focusing on rolling out chapters and making sure people get trained. And then chapters have to have chapter liaisons, right? You have to have somebody that deals with them who's inside of HQ, and they have to have chapter leaders, and they have to, and now they have to have 2 liaisons. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into rolling out chapters. So we haven't been talking about what's happening on the ground. But hey, ADOS Mississippi, shout out to Leo. Like, he's right. Like, just because you don't know doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means it's not publicized. But if you join, you will know what's happening in your community, and when you rolling out all that good stuff, you shall know. Going to another call, going to 925. 925, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up? This is B Easy, calling from Oakland, California.
Hey, what's going on?
First, could you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So it's a lot that's been said, and I want to be as concise as possible. But I appreciate you for having this stream and all of the information that you put out there for our people. But one of the callers, and this is all a respectful challenge and contrarian view. But he said that he said the individuals under 50, basically, that they are kind of politically slow. While there is a validity to that, that is a bit like the pot calling the kettle black, because it's been mostly his generation that has been selling out. Al Sharpton, Jim Clyburn, Elijah Cummings, John Lewis. I mean, you could ring off the list.
He would probably say, fam, that they are knowledgeable sellouts as opposed to not knowing. They just sold out. And I don't know which is worse, though, but go ahead, fam.
I hear you, and I did take that into account, but he didn't specify it. So once you generalize the statements, they can be, picked apart because they're lacking context. And, that's been talking points thrown out devoid of context is kind of weaponization and propaganda. The average age of the house is 58. The average age of is 64. No one has to take my word for it. Look it up. So when he's talking about the people under 50, yeah, there is a combination of the people that just don't know anything, but a lot of them do know. They seen it and they checked out. They are disaffected, and that's what it is. They don't know the political game. They looked and said, "Oh, it ain't nothing over here for me. I'm out," because voting is about quid pro quo, tangible resources. I'm not voting to get a George Floyd statue. I'm not voting for you to kneel in Kente Park. Many of those people over 50 have accepted that. So, I'm not saying him specifically, because I just have heard this kind of sentiment out there where you're kind of wagging the finger at the young folks, but then you don't want the young folks to challenge you. Where is the and I don't even call all elders, right? Some of them are just older.
I'm always saying there's a difference between an old person and an elder. Like, there's a difference. Wisdom is the difference. Wisdom defines an elder from an old person.
Bingo. And that's what I'm trying to say. We can't just automatically act because someone is 60 that he's automatically an elder to someone that's 30 or 40 that has been in the streets, that has that acumen, the political, will and chops to do this. You can't just automatically say this person is an elder. And I'm not implying that he was saying that. I'm just, making a general statement. But they have like Turning Point USA, Daily Wire, PragerU, Manhattan Institute. Where are our black versions? A lot of those are like propaganda mills, and Okay, well, where's our propaganda? You know what I mean? Oh, these people are bots. Well, where's our bots? You know what I mean? Like, you got to fight fire with fire. And to look at some of these young kids that have been destitute, disenfranchised, and then not having those resources to look at them and say, man, y'all politically don't know what you're doing. Hold on. Y'all were some of the same people that when Bill Clinton played the saxophone, y'all was doing cartwheels. That wasn't no young kids in Chicago that did a drive-by that voted for them. Those were our air quote elders that voted for them. So you see what I'm saying? Like, we just got to put things in the proper context. And then I also want to say, I had some things written down here in terms of the delineation thing, right? People from the diaspora, they always, and even sometimes, you know, the people that consider themselves either mixed or biracial or however they choose to identify, you know, they delineate what is good, right? So if they, they delineate, they delineate what is good. So if they go off to college, right, that's not a product of black culture, right? But if that same person raised from that same family goes to jail, that's suddenly black culture. But then if they go to, they want to delineate and say Haitian or I'm mixed, and that same mixed person does a drive-by, see another black person did a crime. No, it's like, you don't try to jump in and out of blackness. Even with if you look at Biden's press secretary, when they were trying to get up excitement for her, they kept saying first black female, first LGBT female. Then as soon as she got elected, they said first Haitian American appointed. Like, hold on. You use the banner of blackness to, you know, get the black girl magic go sister girl. Same thing they did with Kamala. And as soon as she got in there, she started pandering towards her Asian side. So, yeah, and if you look at a lot of people, like, Florida has a whole bunch of Haitians. They have a place called Little Haiti. But when those Haitians do a crime, they're labeled as black under the black banner, and they basically, you know, mean black American, Hatos, however you want to identify. But no, why don't you specifically delineate then? And also,
well, let me give you one more, fam. Why don't we do that with politics? So why is it that if you say, well, this many black people voted Republican, well, you know, and they come out and they blame, oh, black people are crazy. Well, I want to know, because there are some black immigrant groups who are more conservative than others. So let's break that down too. Let's break all of it down. But go ahead, fam. You still there, fam? He might have been.
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So no, I totally agree with you, and that's what I'm saying. The picking and choosing of the delineation is, I'll say, abhorrent and disgusting, right? Because as united as we are, I mean, as you know, disorganized as we are, it's kind of weird to say that we are the most united people. You look at the African diaspora. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. Over 3,000 tribes, i.e. ethnic groups. Over 2,000 languages and dialect. But we are the ones that's divided. So they bring that divisive stuff over here and then want to wag the finger. And now they're trying to put us all on the same boat and trying to make the immigrants. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but they signed air quote historic reparations task force in New York. And what did the dude go up there? A dude who's over 50 tap dancing up there saying that he's an immigrant because he fled. He said his family was sharecropping and he grew up in the Jim Crow South. He said he's an immigrant because he fled to the north. And he specifically said he fled, and he specifically called himself an immigrant. So they have been listening to these spaces, obviously, that you know, and they're trying to call us immigrants now.
How is going from one place? That's like they called us refugees after Katrina. You know, that's not going from one place in the country to another place in the country. Is not a refugee and is not an immigrant. They try to make us all believe that we're all immigrants and just make that word meaningless. And it's just, no, it has, definitions matter. Language matters.
It really does. Yeah, and speaking of immigrants, I looked this up. There's something, called remittance, where they are getting paid here and they're sending it back to the homeland for whatever reason. I'm not going to even get into whatever reasons they're sending it back to. Since we are Americans, there would be no money to send nowhere. We would be spending that money within the American economy, stimulating the economy. On the lowest estimate that I found, they sent out $500 billion. The highest estimate I seen was $800 billion, and this was just in 2022. And all the numbers that they report, it's always a little bit more. And like I said, I don't expect anyone to take my word for it. Just look at these numbers. They're coming over here undocumented, getting all these resources. I don't know if you've seen what they've done in Chicago. They gave the illegal immigrants $9,000 to help them find a place.
Ain't that nice? Ain't that nice? We always get told that there's nothing government can do, and I think there's a great lesson in that. ADOS have this limitation in our mindset just because of what government has been unwilling to do for us. And I think I think this is the moment to understand that government being unwilling to do something for you isn't an inability to do something for you. And so you have to push for it. But yeah, I saw it. I saw everything from the hotel to the money, the jobs, and it's just, and they're just, and the mayor acting like, well, why do they keep sending them here? Why do they keep sending migrants here? And it's just like, well, you all decided that the council was not going to allow people to vote on whether Chicago should remain a sanctuary city. So hold on, you don't want to vote on whether or not the people can take this can take away this city's sanctuary city status, but you don't want to pay for sanctuary. Like, none of that stuff makes sense, and he's in over his head. He should quit. He don't know. He has no idea what he's doing. He's not built for this. He's built for maybe city council, maybe on his best day.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and this is so many contradictions in there, right? So Abbott, which he is just playing political theater, he's not really serious about it, but he is proposing the law to send the illegals, deport them back, and they cross the border illegally, and Mexico is fighting against that. So what we're told is Black Americans just have degenerate culture, right? So you can't detach Mexico from Mexican culture. Why don't Mexico want their own citizens back? If their culture is so great, why are they fleeing from their culture?
Well, my thing is too, I told you when we were talking about John Lake was almost in terms of Colombia, he doesn't get tagged with cocaine culture. Like we have how many the gangs that bombed ADOS out of LA, they don't, and different parts of California, they don't get charged with gang culture. They don't have that stereotype. And they was like, well, it's a minority. It's a minority of ADOS to do it too, but we all get pegged with that, and it's intentional. But I'll let you have the last word, fam, then I'm going to try to get one more call before we get out of here.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I think I got pretty much all of my talking points out, and the only thing I know that I'll end with this, and I would love for you to at least expound on it before you take your next caller. The reason why a lot of us feel apprehensive on asking for something too is we have bought into that victim narrative. So what we're told is that if you ask something for the government that they owe you, you're being a victim and you're asking for a handout. But literally every one of these groups, what are they asking for the government? The same resources that we say you are a victim for. Look at how much Elon Musk has got from the government. Is that a handout? Well, if that's a handout, I want the same handout that Elon Musk got. Why is it okay for him to get it? Elon Musk could ask for handouts, but you can't ask for anything because that's socialism and your economy. So we just need to stop falling for the propaganda. Every other group, and let me say this, when they were blaming Black men for the Stop Asian Hate, how did they get that passed? They said they were victims of hate. You know what I mean? So every group is playing victim politics, except we are the only ones to fall. What is the Jewish people saying? We're victims of anti-Semitism. No one is telling them to stop playing victim card. But thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. I appreciate you. Great call. Thank you so much. And let me just say to what he said. Somebody that was I can't remember the bank robber's name. But he said they asked him like, why do you rob banks? And he said that's where the money is. So when you ask, well, why do you go to government? That's where the money is. Like, that's what, and I'm a citizen. That's where the money is. And we pay tax. Everybody goes there. And everybody goes there and asks for stuff. Half of the people go there, more than half, don't deserve anything. Like, a lobbyist is not owed anything, but they want money. We do business. We wanted you to support our business or whatever. And they're not owed anything. But I also think America has done a heck of a job in terms of propaganda. And when I say that, what I mean is America has y'all remember what Nixon did, right? Nixon said, we're gonna do business. Y'all don't want no handout, right? Just want to do business. And he encouraged them and brought Negroes to the White House and said, you're gonna do business, but never put any money with it. And so, we're gonna help you do it. And it was just no money to it. So it was a way to get us away from politics and thinking of ourselves as bosses without any of the wealth to be bosses. And that's without any of the potential for ownership. So I think propaganda plays a role in it. But if we're going to be successful, and I think we are, it's always a slow go. So I think people, I tend to think people just get too impatient too early. Like the biggest, I think in earnest, we were building up to a movement beginning in like 2015. The movement started in earnest in like 2018, 19. It's 2023. Like who is feeling a way about that? But I do think you have to kind of get people to understand that everybody goes to Capitol Hill. I mean, like, you might have to show them all of the money that's buried in all of these bills to show people, like, this is not, you have to, whatever gets you money, gets you money. And we have the best case for money because we really are old. But, like, even if I wasn't, whatever gets me money, right? In terms of going to Capitol Hill. Right, that's just what it is. Y'all remember when the Asian business owners were fighting with the quote unquote black businesses and saying that we need to get the money because of Asian hate, and they had to come in and show them, like, oh, we've had the most failed businesses. Like, what are you talking about? So everybody is always there asking for money. So I'm going to my last call. I'm going to 862. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? This is gonna be the last call of the night. Sorry, fam. The rest of the people in the queue. Hey, what's going on, 862?
This stuff is just so. Excuse me if you can't really hear me. I'm on my way to work, but yeah, I had to call in because one of the last gentleman he proffered some of it about this generational thing that we've been saddled with, and the way that I look at it is kind of through the lens of the fairy tale Cinderella. Mm-hmm. ADOS people at the bottom, we're Cinderella. The government is the wicked stepmother. And these Negroes from the previous generation that were allowed to go to college for free, that were allowed to get access to a little bit of wealth during a time where America was investing in wealth for working class people, they're the wicked stepsisters. So they're constantly on a war a war footing against Cinderella becoming equal with them. See, you got Narc and Cobra and all of those are the wicked stepsisters. They were paid off by government years ago. Just look, keep talking that Africa stuff and keep talking about kente cloth and keep talking about global Africanism, and you will be okay. And we will guarantee you that you will always have somebody to put your foot on. And that's the people at the bottom. That's the ADOS people that are now starting to say, no. I want my glass slipper just like they got. I want to be elevated to the same status as them. And from there, that creates this pseudo class war inside of a bunch of poor people. Because they ain't got no money either. But they have the illusion of inclusion. They have the belief that, we can get to a status in the world if we just reach out to everybody.
and grab everybody. But if you look, the Jewish people, they don't do that. They don't reach out to every Jew around the world. They're very focused on what happens to Israel. Right? They don't think anything about the Falasha Jew in Ethiopia, the black Jew. They don't care anything about them. They won't even let them in the country. They can't even set up settlement in the stolen land that they have. They won't even let them set up in the stolen land. If you look at the Italian mafia, they don't see the American mafia as the same as the Sicilian mafia that's in Sicily. Mm. If you look at the difference between China and all of its provinces, there's different lineages inside of that. So then they start coming with this goofy stuff about DNA and everyone being connected back to Africa. Well, okay, there was a study that said that, like 80 or 90% of all Chinese people have African DNA. Are they going to get some reparations too? Mm.
If you go by DNA, that's what they do. Well, we African.
If you go by DNA, we all know that all life sprung out of Africa. So like you said, that's the wedge that holds the door open for everybody else to slide in. All they got to do now is go and get the 23andMe done. Or I got 2.2% African. Give me a check. And ADOS is dealing with a specific crime at a specific day, with a specific range of days that happened here in this country. And our Americanness cannot be impugned. It cannot be brought up on charges. Mm. Because there's nobody that's done more for America than ADOS. Everything that has changed in this country came about from ADOS people. And then you got these Garveyites. Okay, fine. Garvey did one thing successfully. Got his butt kicked out the country. But everybody forgets about the nasty letters that he wrote about ADOS people here in America, about we're a bunch of slumbering, lazy folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody forgets the stain that Marcus Garvey had for ADOS Americans. All he saw was a way for him to be a successful entrepreneur with his boat line. So, we got a bigger divide that we have to first deal with, and that's the divide with the willful forgetting of facts. The baby boomer, in general, is considered the worst generation in the history of the planet because they destroyed the planet. And now we look to them to lead us out of the darkness? No. The gentleman that said that the youth or the people under 50 are unintelligent, no, we're not. They're not unintelligent. I'm not under 50. I'm 54. I'll be 55 in April. Well, you and I have had conversations about my 98-year-old grandfather, whose grandfather was a slave. Mm-hmm. We have not moved 1 inch since that man walked off the plantation after committing a very hostile crime towards his slave master, my great-great-grandfather. So if we don't learn to stand up against this nonsense and push back against it and stop doing all this globalism and stop doing all this kumbaya, everybody want to be, a part of something that's quote-unquote mystical. We want to tie into all the artifacts.
Well, and hold on a second, fam. Let me just say this, and before you finish, I actually think that Pan-Africanism is a religion. Like that's and I it's somewhere I want to write about that. I think it is a religion, in the sense of it's something that they worship. It is not a political ideology. It is not a political framework. It is the worship of a continent, and it's kind of the aggregation of what people believe to be the culture there and the cultural heritage there. It is not any kind of politics or any kind of political framework with any kind of political strategies or tactics. And that's why it fails every time. Go ahead, fam. I'll let you have the last word.
But you're 100% right in the fact that it's a religion. It serves the same purpose as a religion. It gives you something to look for from nothingness. From something that's allegorical, if you will. Mm-hmm.
You know, because the Africans have shown you that they are not on footing with you. They don't care one bit, one way or the other about what happens to American ABOS people, other than we keep the door open for them to come in here and gather resources.
Absolutely.
And this thing that they did with this conference and this Africa is going to lead the reparations conversation, it's just another way for them to close the door on the fact that they owe money too. So they say, look, we get in here and we get to draft the legislation and we get to draft the laws and we get to draft the idea. We get to take ourselves out of the legal ramifications of being a part of the defending class. Because they're on the hook for just as much as America is. So what happens is that America has to pay up and America ends up paying. Oh, guess what? Guess who's up next? Y'all up next. We're getting ready to get some money out of y'all too.
So what you're saying is that we probably going to end up as taxpayers paying reparations to Africa?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the game that they're playing. And that's the long game. Look, we got dirty hands, so we need to figure out a way to get ourselves out of the crossfire here. Because if this thing starts to, it's bubbling now. Yvette. You have to understand that for all of my 54 years on the planet Earth, it hasn't been until the last 10 or 15 years that this conversation is being held in earnest. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of politically charged rap back in the day. We had a lot of politically charged moments. But all of that fell flat because there was nothing that said, this is the single most important thing to black folks. Mm-hmm. And then with you, and then Tony O'Moore, and very select few have started to highlight the issues and the reasons for us being in this bottom cast. Now there's an actual talking point that makes some sense. And it makes people have to stand up and be honest about what happened.
Absolutely.
And that scares the hell out of white folks. It scares the hell out of Africans that were complicit in the slave trade. And it definitely scares the hell out of the bourgeoisie black baby boomers who thought that they was always going to be able to stand on our heads.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
And if we're politically unsavvy and if we're politically uneducated, it's because of you. You were our parents. You didn't set forth any type of ideology that gave us something that, like the Jewish community says, never forget. You gave us a bunch of Wakanda nonsense and some kente cloth and some Charlie shells and some Malcolm X medallions and said, there y'all go. Now that's your culture right there. Along with
and if you fail, it's on you. Yeah. And if you fail, it's on you.
So and they absconded with what little wealth that was going to be given to us. They ran off with that. Now they done took out all these reverse mortgages on the little bit of houses that we had. So when they die, most of these Gen X and millennials ain't even going to inherit the freaking house because they're going to inherit a mortgage.
Yeah. Yeah, or they won't inherit it all. I was talking to somebody and I was like, would you inherit the house? They were like, my parents are renters. So like you think they're in a house but they never maintained and they never thought about what happened after them. So yeah, I see it.
Well, even if the house was maintained, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said, they're farming out all the equity so they could go and do all this stuff that they wanted to do when they were
young. And let me just and there's another piece to that, fam. There's another piece to that too. Even if they didn't do a reverse mortgage or farm out the equity to go to the Essence Festival or buy a Harley or go on vacation, what happens? But what happens is too, even if they didn't do that, how well is the house maintained? Right? How well was the upkeep on the house? Like they will sit in the house, wear the house out to where when you inherit the house, you're gonna end up paying $150,000 to bring the house up to the kind of code it needs to be in, and like it's a lot. It's a lot with people. It's a lot with the older people, and they don't understand that. They don't understand their own limitations and deficiencies. So, and that's another problem. A lot of them. I'm not saying everybody. I know some of y'all in the chat, some of y'all do real good. I'm not talking about y'all. I hate that. I'm not trying to generalize. I'm never talking about everybody when I talk about a group. Go on, fam. I'm sorry.
No, it's never everyone. You know, there are anecdotal people out there that did things the right way, but as a whole, coming out of the civil rights generation, they didn't build anything. They saw an opportunity to secure their future, and they took it. And I'm not mad at them for doing that. They went to these jobs. They got these jobs at Pittsburgh Steel or Alcoa Aluminum or General Motors or General Electric or wherever, the city, the state, and they locked up their pensions. But look at our wealth. Now all our wealth is locked in pensions. Instead of staying on the war footing after the 60s, throughout the 70s, going into the 80s, and constantly keeping pressure on these politicians, they said, well, as long as I'm going to be good, that will be enough for my children to be able to inherit the job that I have.
But they didn't protect the job that they had. But, like, listen, here's the other part. Like, if you want your kid to inherit the job that you have, let's say you're a factory worker. My parents were factory workers. You have to protect the factory jobs. And you didn't protect the factory jobs. The factory jobs went away without a fight. So, from you, some white people fought. But, like, from you, the factory jobs went away. And you said, my kid is not going to have to work in a factory. How did you know that? Like, what was that based on? Like, what political framework was that based on? Did you see a jobs report or anything that showed that there would be new jobs that you were going to have to be able to train them into? So if you say protect the jobs, if you have a job, I think careers are passed down. You should at least be able to pass down your career, which means you have to politically fight for that to be a career after you're retired or when your kid comes of age. But I'll let you finish up, fam, and then we'll end for tonight. People going to bed.
I'm going to work. You going to bed.
I'm going to bed.
They said that the things that they inherited were going to remain the same. I talked to my mother-in-law a couple of weeks ago, and I asked her. She's got 2 degrees. I said, Mom, let me ask you a question. When you went to college, how much did you pay for school? She said, I didn't pay for school. All I had to do was pay for my books. Okay, fine. So when they started to charge for college, did you go out there and stop these people from making it where people had to charge? This is city college. She went to CUNY in New York, right? Did you get out here and make it where they couldn't charge for city college or state college anymore? No, I didn't know they was going to do what they did. Well, what do you mean you didn't know what they did? They passed legislation that made it illegal for you or impossible for you to write that bill off, and then all of a sudden now the price is going up. It went from free to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Why? Because they were creating a debtor class. But you didn't get out in the streets for that. But you're quick to tell me about how you sat next to Coretta Scott King or how you marched with Martin. But the fight was in front of you for your children's future, and you did no fighting.
Well, also in the fight,
they didn't build anything.
But the fight got to keep going too. Like sometimes I feel like they feel like I did this one thing, like I marched here and I did this, and it's just kind of like the fight don't stop. Like you have to develop a culture of politics and a culture of political fighting, and that's a muscle that you build. And now you can teach your kid how to build that muscle. You know, if you ain't never lifted weights, you can't teach nobody how to really work a barbell and how to get pump in their muscle if you've never done it. Right? You can guess, but you got to be able to pass that down. Like politics is passed down too. So like, and not knowing something is not an excuse. So if you say, well, I didn't know they was gonna do that. Well, none of us know what they're gonna do until what's going on until we go research it. You know what I mean?
Well, see, a lot of them are just old enough, and they have enough black and white pictures to pull the wool over our eyes. Dr. King said it himself, if he had more people, he would have got a lot more done. So wait a minute. Now, everybody that's over a certain age is saying they marched with King, they walked with King, they was out there in them streets. Well, all y'all wasn't out there. Now, stop it. You know, and everybody, we take for granted that because grandma's a certain age, she must have been out there in them streets. No, she wasn't out there in them streets. She was at the discotheque.
Not the discotheque. Not the discotheque.
With the tube top on. Nobody don't want to deal with this stuff, you bet.
I agree with you.
Your grandmama was a hot girl submarine in the 70s.
Living her best life.
And then the discotheque came, and then she just ran over there for a minute and took that one picture. No, that's what her life was.
Yeah, she's like, well, we used to go there sometimes in the summer, you know. We go there every once in a while. Now, you was there every weekend. You was over at the juke joint.
Yeah, they was at the juke joint. They was at all of the midnight basement parties with the red light. They got all these stories, but they wasn't doing it.
Yeah, drank all that man's corn liquor. You drank all his corn liquor up every weekend.
You know, the color purple, showed you. Harpo, what is that woman, Harpo? What are you talking about? But we allow these older people to sit back and live under the umbrella of respect that they demanded that we give them as children. And you will, as a child, capitulate to that power structure because they're an adult. But once you become an adult, it's your responsibility now. I'm saying this to all of the Gen X and all of the millennials. Go in there and ask your grandmama for some receipts. I'm going to need to see the best ticket to Selma. I'm going to need to see the best ticket to Washington, D.C. for the March on. I'm going to need to see the ticket.
Well, you see the receipts in their life. You don't need to see the receipts. A person who is political in life. Like a person who has led a political life will tell you political stories and teach you political stuff. If that stuff is not present in their life now, if they are not having their conversations now, they didn't do it. Your life is a receipt. When somebody sees you and listens to you, what you know, what you don't know, what you do, what you don't do, how you live your life is a receipt to your values. You can look at me and day in and day out and see what I do, and that will tell you what Yvette D. Carnell's values are. My life is the receipt, and they are giving you their receipt with how they live.
That's 100% true. That's 100% true because I call myself I'm my grandfather's son. He has other grandchildren, but I'm his son because I live in that same type of fight that he had to go against when he went to the bank and couldn't get a loan because the man told him to his face, we don't loan niggas money like that.
Absolutely. You're
That's
right, man.
Money you
The
man told him that to his face.
Yeah, we don't do that to you. What you doing here? As a matter of fact, what you here? I'd have had the dogs run you out. Yeah.
You asking for too much money. The amount of money he was asking for, he actually had in his pocket in cash. Not to think about the amount of money he had in that man's bank. He had double the amount on deposit that he was asking for. You got to understand, this is before FICO and all of that nonsense came out. My grandfather was 98.
Yeah.
All that stuff is relatively new to him. FICO, what is that? What is a credit score? What is that?
Yeah.
Man, he never had anything on credit. He didn't get a loan to finish his house. He already started building it. He wanted to finish it. Man, so we don't loan niggas money like that. He had to go in his own pocket to finish the house. Which is what he didn't want to do because he didn't want to deplete his resources because he knew that there was going to be a long period of time before he was ever going to amass that kind of money again.
Mm-hmm. And you shouldn't want to deplete your resources. You should try to get a loan and use somebody else's resource. Yeah, he was trying to do the right thing.
Well, especially when you're at the bottom.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen.
Conservatism needs to work for you. You need to conserve your resources because you're not going to get any more. You're not going to have access to it.
Yeah. You're not, and you don't know, and it'll deplete you.
Black conservatives out here, y'all, how y'all are conservative and you broke?
Like, don't make no sense. And let your engine make a noise. Let your engine make a noise one day. You'll know what it means to not use to have some resources. I was backing up one day and my car went right back in park. Wait a minute. I know I ain't crazy. It was like, so I was like, it's my transmission.
You become a YouTube mechanic. You know that noise.
What is that sound? And then you start the minute the sound hits, you go right to your bank account. Carry the 2, the 3. Now I got this over here in savings. I got this over. Okay. If it's an engine versus transmission gonna be bad. I got to. You know what I mean? Like I gotta get a new car. Your mind goes all the way out. So yes, like we don't. That's how you know we're wealthless. The fact that car trouble can take us out the game. That's how you know. Car trouble, you out the game.
Listen, is that there's one in every 5 cars. 20% of all the cars that are being financed today have $1,000 note or more. So now you couple that with the wealth position that you know ADOS have.
Yep.
Right? You couple that with, okay, if they're paying $1,000 a month for a car, nothing can go wrong.
Yep.
And then you can also look at the fact that most of us live in these urban areas where the insurance rate is high, right? So now you got this high insurance rate coupled with this super high car note and this inability to make any money because now you got this tax bill that's been signed by Trump that's wiping out all of the. You getting taxed 40%.
That's what I told people. That was the worst thing. Trump. People going around talking about Trump and undemocratic. I said the worst thing he did was the tax stuff, and y'all don't even complain about that. Like, and you're right to calm down on conservatism. Like the thing that people don't understand, to be a conservative really means I'm conserving what I got. My life good. I like everything the way it is. I have a good life.
Yeah, that's not
right. I'm conservative.
That's what that changed for.
You don't want to change. You don't want to change nothing. You don't want to change anything. Why? I'm living the life of Riley. So yeah. So I agree with you, fam. You don't know.
Not only that, but you also need everybody to stay in position. See, even if you are one of the few ADOS that actually have some money, the rest of your family is poor.
We talked about that.
So if you're trying to say conservative, you want to seal them at the bottom.
Absolutely.
You want to lock them at the bottom so that you get to stay where you are. Because if they start doing wealth transfers and start taxing the rich, right, and you happen to be one of the few rich Negroes, and they mean extremely few, but they're falling off by the dozens now with all of the Me Too and the lawsuits, and the rich Negroes is going by the way of the dodo bird.
You're right, fam.
So
right.
you know we losing a rich Negro every election cycle. Every 4 years we lose another rich Negro.
They falling out the sky, fam. They falling
out the sky.
They falling
right?
out the sky.
So now so now if you're one of those few that are left, you're saying to yourself, it's anti-family. It's like, you know what? I don't care if my family's broke. I just need myself to be okay. So I'm going to be conservative because I made it.
Yep, and I don't care if everybody else gets locked out.
I'm the interest of my people because my people are not lucky as I was. It's to end so you can go to bed. We have to better vet the people that we allow to speak for us. And when they start speaking, somebody needs to stand up and pull out the receipts to prove what they have actually done. None of them narc people ever did nothing.
No.
They did nothing.
No. Well, that's why they couldn't build. That's why they couldn't build nothing.
I remember in Cobra when I was in the military. I saw an in Cobra flyer when I was in, I think, California. I said, who the hell is in Cobra? What is the bunch of snakes? What's going on? They wasn't doing nothing. It was begging.
I've seen them too. I've seen them too. And what kind of name is that? In Cobra. You gotta be crazy to choose that as your name. In apostrophe Cobra.
It sounded powerful, but what it really sounded like sounded like foolishness. So as long as it was foolish, it was acceptable by white folks. Come on in, let's have a conversation in Cobra. And then when you leave, they start laughing at you.
Yeah, we love to be with you in Cobra. These Negroes come here, call themselves a snake, talk about reparations in Africa and all this stuff.
Who are these? They sound like a gang.
I agree with you, fam. I agree with you. Well, we're gonna let you get to work. You know. I appreciate you. Excellent call. Please call back.
It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Always.
It's getting to the point now where it's really, really, really frustrating. The level of goofiness that's going on, and we're sitting back acting like we don't see it. It's a grift.
Yeah, I agree with you, fam. And listen,
energized, and they're awakened, and they're seeing, okay, there might be some crumbs shaking off the table, so we need to be there to catch those crumbs.
Well, I think some people have decided we gotta have something. Like, this is my chance to have my name. Remember, somebody said we're gonna be in the history books. Child, history forgets most people. Like, regardless of what you do, like most of the time, history will forget you. Like, that's just what it is. You cannot depend on history.
But that's because history is written by the winners.
Yeah, but
even users gonna write the history books.
Yeah, and even if you do something great, like there's a whole bunch of people that work with King. Like, even the prominent ones, most people don't really know Roy Wilkins' name. Like, his name is not the same as Dr. King's name, and that man did stuff. Like, it's a lot of people whose names, even the ones who should, like, there's so many people who did stuff and you'll never know their name. You can't be thinking about that. But I'm gonna let you go, fam.
More than King did.
Exactly. And I'm gonna let you go. Some people are the figureheads. I appreciate you. And get to work safe, and we'll talk next time.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now you have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Hey, I didn't even know if we was gonna be able to stay in, but we stayed long, fam. We had 2 hours and 40 minutes. Now, I don't know if it stay up on YouTube, so I don't know. But hey, and I didn't do no outro. I forgot. I did an intro and a break. I forgot to do an outro. I was trying to do it on the slick when the screen went blue, and I forgot that y'all could see that. I was trying to design the whole thing. I forgot. They can see that. I didn't put it in preview mode. Anyway, thank y'all for coming through on, like, it's show night, but it's kind of impromptu because I haven't been here, and I was just really trying to experiment with the stuff, and see if, like, the stuff, the feed would stay up, because the last time I was on Patreon, it went down, so I was like, I didn't know it was me or whatever. So it looks like we okay, hopefully, right now. We'll see. With me, you never know. But I want to thank y'all for regardless, I want to thank everybody for coming through. I appreciate y'all. Hit the like button before you go out, though. Hit that like button before you got it. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. And if you have not gone to, what in the world did I do that time? If you have not gone to joinados.com, please do that. The stuff we talk about, we have to kind of be about. And so please do that. I'd appreciate that. And I will see y'all next time. Okay? All right, fam. Bye.